Welcome to Rock Solid Productions, where I'm really excited to bring you this unboxing of the Retrobit Super Retro Trio Plus. Hey everyone, Gary here with Rock Solid Productions, and I have had my eyes on this bad boy for a long time since I first heard Retrobit was coming out with this. This is, as I mentioned in the open, this is the Super Retro Trio Plus, and basically what it is it's a NES clone, a Super NES clone, and a Genesis clone, all with HDMI output on it to upgrade you to a 720p video on your flat screen TV. 3 systems in one, and it's hardware based, it's not software based, it's not emulation. So I know a lot of people have been critical of like the Hyperkin Retron 5. That is an emulation based machine. People have been critical about the AtGames Sega Genesis Flashback HD. That's an emulation station. This is hardware based. So we are going to open up the box, we're going to see what it all comes out with, and we're also going to compare it size-wise to an NES, a Super NES, and some of the clone systems that are out there. So let's get started. So taking a look at the box itself, you can see it is a white and red system. It is HDMI enhanced for Genesis, NES, Super NES. Comes with a 6-foot HDMI cable, 2 classic style controllers, multi-region capability, AV and HDMI output. On the back of the system, Retro Gaming has a completely new look, and we'll dive into this a little bit more. And kind of gives you a sneak peek at the console right there. And this is the side of the box we're going to go into. We've broken the seal. I need a moment, it's just so pretty. Wow, there's a lot here in the box. So let us go through it. We have instruction manual, which we'll read through before we start playing. Let's look at the console itself. I'll set the packaging aside for right now. Very similar in aesthetics to the Super Retro-Cade, which is what in the open you saw that I had playing Holy Diver. So cartridge port for your Genesis, Super NES, and NES. Reset button, power switch here, and with the power switch it will determine which system you're going to be playing, whether you're playing NES, Super NES, Genesis, or powered off. All the way down is off, Genesis, Super NES, NES, and a momentary switch here for reset. On the back side here, this is the business end. We've got our HDMI output right on the back. We've got our AV outputs here too. We also have, oh, thank goodness. So I was a little worried, I'll show you why in a second. Micro USB for power. Now, looking on the box, where did I see it? Here it is. This, thankfully, must have been a prototype where it uses the barrel type connection for power. This actually uses a micro USB for power, which I am very thankful of. No other switches or anything on here. I'm wondering how it changes from NTSC to PAL, because it says multi-region. And no controller ports on it here. There we go. Holy cow. All right, so you have your different controller ports here, Super NES, Genesis, and NES, and NTSC, PE, JN, and PA. Those switches are all right there for you. I like the fact that that's hidden, but it's not really functional because it's always going to be open when you're playing. It's kind of weird, especially since it does not have any sort of like wireless capability. And that one was for you, John Riggs. I hope you appreciated me peeling that off. All right, so let's take a look at what this basically size-wise is compared to some of the other systems that are out there. And we've got to look at the original NES. Yes, I know there was the Atari 2600, but that's what it looks like compared to the NES. About the same depth, but nowhere near as wide. And compared to, since it will play Mega Drive Genesis, Again, not quite as deep as the Genesis and a lot narrower. Super Nintendo. Again, very similar, actually really similar in size to the Super NES. Now I want to compare it to some of the clones that are out there. And first of all, this is the Gamers Tech 8-bit HD. Now this one only does NES cartridges, so you would expect it to be quite a bit smaller, but there you can see the size difference. And the Gamers Tech 16-bit HD. Now this one does just Super NES and Super Famicom games, so that's something to be aware of. The Super Retron HD, again, only does Super NES games. One thing, so I did pre-order the Super Retro Trio Plus from CastlemaniaGames.com. Stay tuned till the end. I'll tell you how you can save 10% if you want one of these. But this system with all three systems in it is only $10 more than this one that only does one system. So something we're going to have to test out and see how this ends up compared to that. We will be doing a shootout. Let's check out how different games fit in the system as well. So we have a couple different titles here. Let's go first and foremost with Spider-Man Return of the Sinister Six. This is an NES game, which will go on the back. Plugs right in. How about the Super NES? Let's go with the Super Game Boy. Pretty good fit. And it's just a pull to pull out. I want to see if it'll fit Super Famicom games. Where are you at? There we go. It's one of those you got to try to find the pins. The casing is definitely designed for games like Earthworm Jim that, you can see the opening and how it's to pop right in there. Very good grip on the games, not too much, but just enough. Retrobit's own Joe and Mac, the Ultimate Caveman Collection. That actually was a much easier fit than the Super Famicom game. Now, finally, we need to check out the Genesis port and how that fits. So I've got a copy of Sonic & Knuckles here. Pops right in. Above and beyond that, aesthetically speaking, the console is pretty decently designed. It looks good, it's attractive, and it should be pretty functional. But that's just the console itself. Let's take a look at everything else that comes in the box with it too. So we'll set the console aside for now. All right, let's take a look at the controller because it's definitely unique. It is not a clone of an NES or a Super NES controller or a Genesis controller, even for that matter. It is a design pretty unique to itself, but not entirely, and I'll tell you why. So here you have your D-pad, which feels good, your A, B, X, Y, L and R on top. And the reason why it's not completely unique is the fact that Retrobit has actually utilized this controller configuration once before. And that was what they used in the Super Retro-Cade. Looks identical, right? Well, not entirely, because on the Super Retro-Cade controller, it has a USB type connection versus the Super NES style connection here on this controller here. Like I say, I've spent a lot of time playing with the Super Retro-Cade controller, and it's really comfortable. It's got a nice long cord on it too, which is the other thing. Now, if you would like to use any of Retrobit's third-party controllers, like say you want to use the Mega Man or the Street Fighter controllers, you can do that with the different ports on the front of the controller. You can also use your traditional Sega Genesis controllers, or say you want to use an NES Advantage or NES Super Advantage. Those will plug right into the system too. Finally, we have the power brick here, which is a USB output to micro USB. Switching wise, we are at 5 volts, 1 amp. Let's see if we can get a shot of that for you. There you go, 5 volts, 1 amp. And then your USB to micro USB connector there too. Now, just for going back to this again for a second, input voltage will do 100 to 240 volts. So like I'm going to go to Germany in a little bit, and I could use this over there. I would just need an adapter for the pins itself. The system does come with 2 controllers, and I almost forgot, it also comes with your HDMI cable. So overall, the Super Retro Trio Plus comes out of the box with everything you need to have fun. And I mean, it's a decent looking system, definitely a derivative of the original Super Retro Trio, but now again it has that ever important HDMI adapter on the back. So we are going to do some testing on this very soon. If first impressions are anything, color me impressed. The Super Retro Trio Plus from Retrobit comes out of the box and it's super well equipped. It comes with 2 controllers, and I have to say I love the fact that this is the controller that they went with. It's got a great feel to it, it's very comfortable, and as I mentioned in my review on the Super Retro-Cade, which you can check out right up there, I actually suffer from a little bit of arthritis, so long gameplay, my hands start hurting. It sucks getting old. Anyways, I've played for a couple hours at a time with these controllers, at least the USB equipped versions, and no fatigue, nothing like that. It does maintain the concave convex function that the original Super NES controller had. Now, for you Genesis fans out there, I understand you don't want to play using a Super NES style controller, and as I mentioned, Retrobit does have the 6-button controller available that'll plug right into this. Plus, it looks badass with the Ryu Street Fighter II graphics on it too, which you can also get from CastlemaniaGames.com, which is where I pre-ordered my Super Retro Trio Plus from. If you want to pre-order one, actually, if you want to order one because they're shipping now, head on over to CastlemaniaGames.com. I'll have a link down below where you can check them out. And if you use promo code ROX10, you'll actually save 10% off of your order too. Super cool. Now, one other thing to let you know about, at the time of this recording, there also just started pre-orders for Holy Diver as the physical NES cartridge release that you can now order through CastlemaniaGames.com and Retrobit. It is an exclusive 1,000 pieces just to Castlemania Games. As far as the very limited collector's editions going through there. Now, the ROX10 promo code does not work, but you can get your hands on a physical copy of Holy Diver through Ryan at CastlemaniaGames.com. You can also order R-Type returns, which is R-Type 3 and Super R-Type. They'll also work great with this system too. Same things, 1,000 pieces, special editions just for CastlemaniaGames.com. The ROX10 promo code does not work on that either. Hope you guys understand on that. So, looking forward to getting some gameplay and testing with this. I love the fact, and I got to give Retrobit credit, looking at the box, I was heartbroken when I saw on the box that it looked like a barrel type connector for power, and it isn't. They've updated it to a micro USB port, which I love. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It makes my wiring so much easier to have that on there. Above and beyond that, we are going to be doing some really in-depth testing, and shootouts are coming too. So as you saw, I've got the Super Game Boy that I'll be testing out on this. We have the clone cartridges. We have, what else do we have? We now have a Game Genie for the Super NES. Thank you to Adrian from Live Action Games. Make sure to check them out at facebook.com/lag217. They've got some cool stuff if you're in the Central Illinois area too. They'll be carrying this system as well through there. What else are we going to be testing with it? We've got we've got multi-carts, because we've got all the Retrobit multi-carts, like the Data East Collection. Joe and Mac will be playing on this. Super NES, Super Famicom. I will be trying Famicom games on here using the 72-pin to 62-pin adapter and a whole lot more. So let me know what you want to see out of this machine down below in the comments. You can also email me any questions, anything you want me to kind of highlight on this machine in the review at rocksolidmail@gmail.com. We answer all of our emails. May not get to them right away, may take a couple hours, but we do answer each and every one of them. You can also hit me up on Twitter at RockSolidStudios with any questions that you might have too. And as always, feel free to leave us a question, comment, anything along those lines on our Facebook page, facebook.com/RockSolidProductions. This is the Retrobit Super Retro Trio Plus. We do have shootouts coming too, I mentioned that. So we're going to be comparing this to the Gamers Tech 8-bit HD and 16-bit HD as far as the NES and the Super NES side of things, to the Hyperkin Super Retron HD, which does Super NES and Super Famicom. Like Sonic & Knuckles, you saw me test it in here. I'm really hoping Sonic & Knuckles and Sonic 3 plays on here. Genesis fans, Mega Drive fans, let me know what you want to see this thing do, because I don't know as much about that system as I do the NES and the Super NES. I was an NES, Super NES fanboy, still am. So definitely want to know what you guys want to see on the Genesis side of this. But if you can't tell, I'm excited about this. Head on over to CastleManiaGames.com. Make sure that you order yours now. Thanks for watching. Come back, subscribe. I almost forgot that. Make sure that you subscribe so that you can stay up to date with when we do have the review of this posted. And if you want access to the review early, make sure you join us on Patreon, patreon.com/rocksolid. For as little as $1 a month, that's our lowest reward tier. You get early access to all of our video content. And then if you do donate $25 in a single month, up to $25, we'll also send you this short sleeve, not this one. I'll get you a clean one because this one's got dog hair on it, fuzz, other things. Need to launder it too. Anyways, we'll send you a short sleeve t-shirt too. We are working towards raising money to buy an analog Super NT, which I'm hoping to compare this machine to as well. So thank you for watching. Let me know what you want to see. Comment down below. Give it a thumbs up. I'll see you soon.